We're just a very small lake. We're not as big as Wabamun, although we're in the same county. We're about 65, 70 kilometers west of Edmonton. Not quite as far west as Wabamun, but we hear a lot of the same issues, have a lot of the same concerns as many of you at the bigger lakes as well. And I think I'm really encouraged to hear all of the projects and activities you guys are doing, and it encourages us to keep going with some of what we're planning as well. Our organization started in, I believe, 2010, so we're fairly new at this, but it was started as in opposition to a very large proposed campground at the lake, and way out of proportion for the size of the lake. And the development permit was granted, but our association formed really to, in some ways, to protect the lake, but also to oppose the development in some ways. And we took it to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, and the development permit at that point was overturned. The developer then took that decision to the Court of Appeal, and was sitting in the Court of Appeal for quite a while. Some submissions were made on both sides. And we just learned recently, a couple of months ago, that the developer had withdrawn the Court of Appeal process. So as it stands, the Subdivision Appeal Board decision is good, and so the development for the campground has been overturned. So that's a good news story for us and for lakes in Alberta. We're not opposed to development, but we just want to make sure that it's appropriate for the lake and it's not going to affect the long-term health and the future of the lake. So as part of this whole process, we've realized the need for guidelines to help us control development, control uses on the lake, protect habitat, all the things that you have been talking about here today. And so our organization is coming up with a Watershed Management Plan. We've been working closely with North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance and Dave Mussel from Alberta Environment Sustainable Resources. And we're very grateful for funding from the Land Stewardship Centre as well. A couple of years ago, the North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance did a State of the Watershed report for us. So it's a very comprehensive report. You can see that on their website. And that kind of was a springboard for doing our Watershed Management Plan. And someone at the University of Alberta has also been working on some paleolimnology work. We're still waiting some results from that as well. So we have all the science behind the lake. It's, as I said, it's a small lake. It's actually two basins. One is a very deep basin, about I think it's about 80 feet on various sections, and on the eastern basin is quite shallow, about 15 to 20 feet. And so you see some differences in the water quality and the habitats and that type of thing as well. But so we're working ahead for our Watershed Management Plan. In a few weeks, we're actually having our initial Phase 1 consultation workshop for the public. And if you're interested afterwards, you can come see some lovely brochures that we're handing out to the stakeholders. And if you want a poster to post up somewhere where your own watershed management organization can see what we're doing, you're welcome to come and get a copy of that as well. So we're learning a lot through this process of how to work with all the different levels of government and the community and the various stakeholders, and we're really encouraged to see the interest from so many people on various levels on this. And so the two questions we're actually asking the community initially for this public consultation, two questions are: what watershed management issues concern you now, and what are your long-term aspirations for the Mayatan Lake watershed? And we want stakeholders to take those questions and think about them. We're going to have some open table discussions about what the issues are that they see now, because there are very common issues, but people have particular issues of their own, and there's a variety of different things. We want people's voices to be heard. And so we're going to have that initial consultation workshop, and then we will probably have other things as part of the public consultation process as well, like surveys, perhaps a Phase 2 consultation workshop, something like that. So we're really excited to see the results of all this come in, and that will form part of our lake management plan. Another really important, I think, thing that our group is involved with, we've been very pleased to see a number of watershed stewardship groups in Parkland County coming together as a collaborative kind of an umbrella group. We're loosely calling it so far Lakes of Parkland County, and I think it involves at this point about 7 or 8 watershed stewardship groups in Parkland County. I know Wabamun has been involved, and ourselves, Jackfish Lake, Spring Lake, Cottage Lake, Gladue Lake, Hubble's Lake, Lake Isle as well. So there are a lot of smaller lakes as well as some of the bigger ones involved in that too. And in a way it's very similar to the Carl organization, much smaller, but similar, a collaborative effort. We realized that, as Glenn I think said earlier, we were working kind of our own little pockets, that we really didn't know what other groups were doing or where they were in their management planning processes, or even what their responses would be to some of the initiatives in the county. So we wanted to get people together to talk about what issues they had at their lakes, how they were handling it, and how we could all work together to share information and network together to protect all of our lakes into the future, because there are a lot of very common themes and issues, and how can we work together so we're not duplicating our efforts all the time, and having a stronger voice because we are working together. So we've been very pleased with the progress with that and the enthusiasm of people who have come out to the meetings for that. We are working as well to engage with Parkland County to get their input and collaborate with them as well. So we're really pleased with making progress along the way. I think in this last year we've seen a lot of very positive changes and very positive results. And as I said earlier, we're really encouraged to hear about what other lakes are doing around the province, and hopefully even province-wide we can collaborate even more as well. So thank you. Thanks very much for putting together this workshop, and if you need more information you can come see me for a pamphlet later too. Thanks.